Is this thing on? Okay. Why are we here at this meeting? It's a really good question. Well, I want to kind of go over what we're going to try to accomplish. So this is both review and introduction for those who are not here or want a refresher on the deeper philosophical but also simple and practical reason we're here. So first off, you'll see a link below, a link to how to meet. This is an article from Fast Company in 1999 on how to meet. And so you'll hopefully see that in the article, when people have to meet in any kind of organization, they can do it effectively. Like, meetings take work. And my hope is that what you see there is helpful. Next thing is, we are trying to create a scenius. Brian Eno coined the phrase scenius, which is basically brilliance or creativity doesn't come from an individual as much as a scene, a number of people working together to geek off each other. If we look at history, we can see that kind of is established quite well. So we're creating a scene or scenius for our students in the classroom. And you, advisory members, are also a huge part of that, hugely influential. So there's that part of this. Thank you for being a part of our scene. Also, the Hopi have a proverb that says the storytellers rule the world. And what I like is that we are trying to impart skills in storytelling with students. And we want them to be able to tell their stories. And the idea being that if they can control their own narrative, that they will better be able to author their lives. But also look at the world, look at history, look at politics, look at other things where the media is the message, or the message isn't exactly what is really going on. I want them to be able to embrace media and know what it is, but just know that you have to be a good storyteller and know how the storytelling structure works to be able to author your own stories and understand it in our world. So another piece of this is that students need autonomy, mastery, and purpose. And actually, all of us need that in the world of work. We are most happy when we do that. So Daniel Pink wrote a book called Drive, and in the book, he talked about these 3 principles. And what we want to do is kind of bake that into the class structure. So when we first take a look at high school students, autonomy is a big thing. They're trying to figure out who they are. They're inventing their lives. They need to be able to make mistakes in a safe environment, to try out different roles, and to take on more control of their lives. They also need to master things or begin the mastery process, and that's where you're involved. But we'll wait to talk more about that, but it's specific skills. They also need to have purpose. And so when we talk about purpose, we're talking about be able to give back to the world, be able to do something that contributes to being a better person, a better place, a better culture, all this stuff. So we want them to be a part of something. And that's something we'll kind of talk about in our class as well. So what does it take to tell a good story? What specific choices do students have to make to do this? Well, what we're doing is we're helping students look at the arts and technical components that it takes to make those decisions. And what we want to do is think about one decision after another. So for instance, creating a step-by-step. Like if you're going to write a song, what do you do first and second and so on and so forth? So I had students make specific lists of like, what would you do, say, to write a song? And list those things out. And we started looking at that saying, well, what do professional people do, both technically and creatively, when they're working on storytelling? And the next piece is we looked at these lists and said, well, wait a minute. Really, it's a whole lot of decisions. And so when we talk about making decisions, it's a flow chart. Now, if you look at engineering and you look at a flow chart diagram, you have just some basic building blocks, from diamonds to rectangles with 2 lines in them for other components. So with that material, we thought, what if we approach the whole idea of composing something, telling a better story, through writing out, is this a decision? Is it a predefined element? Which predefined might be picking a song key. All the predefined things will be what all the keys are. So helping students know what these options are in any particular storytelling process. So we had them make some flowcharts. And it's kind of confusing at times, but the idea is if they think about what it takes to go from step 1 to the final step, but then we look at professionals and what they involve in that whole process, they start to see there's a lot to do. So when we talk about putting all these pieces together, what I'm thinking is that your involvement is to help us come up with specific skills lists that the students will be able to put into their decision-making process. So being people that work in industry, work as storytellers, the idea is that you could help make a list, and then we will turn it into a flow chart that has decision-making blocks and other components. So that's the main thrust of doing this. So kind of in review, Aaron, Sam, Natalie, Eric, James, Abby, Jenna, looking at visual storytelling, TV media, anything that has to do with visuals, film, and so on. What lists would you make? And you can focus on specific elements of screenwriting or whatever, but just what would you say is stuff that you do A to Z to write something? Sam, Jesse, Aaron, Tom, Andrew, Leo, what do people do in the sound careers? So either as a musician, an engineer, etc. What are choices they make when they go through working on a composition, working on recording, microphone choice to compression ratios? We just start making lists out of things that students need to be thinking about. Sam, Jay, and Sander in game design. There's so many different choices to be made artistically, coding-wise, platforms, 2D, 3D, all this stuff, to start to list out what people would do. So the big part to bring us all together is that what we want to do is start generating these lists. We'll start turning them into flowcharts, and this will help students make one decision at a time as they move through the creative process. Because imagine being a freshman or somebody in high school who looks at their end result and sees amazing work. It's really intimidating. But if we were to break it down to the first choice, the second choice, and so on, all of a sudden it becomes a little more manageable. And this is something we're thinking about developing over a 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 year process that a student could be in class, moving through the flow chart, working on specific skill sets, knowing what they are, so that they have autonomy to pick areas they want to focus on. They have mastery, or the beginnings of, so they know that these skills are coming from industry, and they can start checking them off as they demonstrate them in their portfolio. And then purpose is they're becoming a better storyteller, to become powerful in their own narrative, but also to get a story out that they really care about and know comfortably that they know the technical and creative elements to be a better storyteller. So, thanks for being a part of this group. That's kind of in a nutshell what I was trying to say. And yeah, here we go.